Hello and welcome to the Talking NorCal podcast, the official podcast of Active NorCal. I am your host, Zach O'Brien. With me here, I got to use it again. It's Bob the Flannel God. How you doing, Bob?
Feeling flannelly today.
You wore another flannel. I got to use the nickname again.
It's the season. It's 40 degrees outside.
It was cold as heck on my way to work today. It is officially winter in Northern California. We're excited. We're dealing with all sorts of winter weather, which we will get to. But a changing of the season, we have more water in the area. We're really excited. Before we hop into this episode, it is the holiday season, and we want to hear what you're doing with your holiday plans. Go to activenorcal.com/leave a message and let us know. Leave a voicemail for this podcast. Let us know what you're doing the holiday season. We will play any appropriate messages on the upcoming podcast. We like hearing your guys' if you got stories, if you got questions, if you have comments, if you want us to do something different, let us know. Leave a message, and we'll play it if it is appropriate on this podcast. Once again, that's activenorcal.com/leave a message. All right, let's hop into this. We got a lot to talk about. Let's start with the Tahoes. Hella NorCal.
NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and I could spend all day just chilling in the South Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and there are no salad dudes who kick it down in Santa Cruz. Or NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we get a little cray-cray when we visit the East Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal.
All right, we have a really fun episode. We had Matt Levitt. He is the founder and CEO of Tahoe Blue Vodka. We just did an interview with him. That's going to be coming up. He did the interview from Tahoe, from South Lake Tahoe, and he showed us the outside, and it is covered in snow. It is buried, and luckily the interview went fine because he said his power's been out for most of the day, so he was hot spotting in.
And of course, he had technical glitches when he first jumped on, but as soon as the interview started, it was seamless. So
it was
shout out to Matt's hotspot.
The hotspot worked great, but it was really cool because we are about to talk about this storm. It was cool for him to show us out his door because it is buried out there, and so we had a storm. We had.
A storm still.
Well, we have a little break right now, and people will be listening to this later, so maybe I shouldn't talk about it like that. But the storm came in Saturday night. It lasted through basically Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night-ish. Dumped. So Tahoe, the different ski resorts reported some different stuff. According to Open Snow, 80 inches fell on Mount Rose for the storm.
80 inches?
80 inches.
Wow.
It is estimated that some of the higher elevation areas of the Sierra got 100-plus inches. It's estimated that Lassen got 100-plus inches.
So like 120 inches is 10 feet.
It's 10 feet.
Snow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Overnight, between Monday night, Tuesday morning, 4 feet, just overnight when it got really intense. So it's exciting. Let's see, just looking at these snow totals, 52 inches for Sugar Bowl, 55 for Boreal. Central Sierra Snow Lab, I don't know what that is, 65 inches. So, yeah, no, it was a big storm. It's been really fun to see all the photos and the videos.
Well, there's a couple things that are great about this. First of all, we need the precipitation.
Correct.
We've talked about this before. Snow specifically brings a tremendous amount of money to the state, to Tahoe, to all of the areas
tourism
that have
industry, ski
and snow outdoor recreation. So, you don't think about it too often, but you don't generally think about the ski parks like losing money or being bankrupt or what have you. But the little small ski shacks that rent out skis and snowboards and sleds and all of that stuff, a lot of those go under during those drought years, those years that we don't have any snow. So, I mean, this is just great news all around.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the ski resorts, and, so we received that historic storm late October, and they all opened at, historically early, and then they closed again for another month because we didn't get anything really in the month of November. But now they're opening back up. Mount Shasta got 3 feet. a brand new snow. They're opening on Friday. All the Tahoe resorts, well, they tried to reopen. They all lost power. So it's been sort of this weird struggle of there's too much snow, which is a great problem to have. In terms of the Sierra snowpack, the mountains have, on average received 70 inches of snow in December, just on average throughout the Sierra. The December average for inches of snow in the Sierra is 67 inches. So we're already over our average for the month. So that fantastic. And absolutely fantastic.
Literally the halfway point of the month.
And we have a lot more on the way. And let me get to that in a second. First, I also want to talk about Sacramento. It rained, it dumped. So Sacramento, and I have to pull up this stat here. Sacramento, in the entire 2021 water year, received 7.87 inches of rain. We already have more than 8 inches in this 2022 water year. So we've already
started in October.
Which started in October. We've already surpassed the entire water year of last year. Just, how far are we into this? 2 months, 2.5 months? It is fan-freaking-tastic how much water we're getting.
Not to take too much credit.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
This atmospheric rain, all of this precipitation coming in 2021, nobody expected it. But, without the amazing sound effects by yours truly,
Let it ride!
I don't think that this precipitation would have come.
Let's just hear a song real quick.
I always do that one.
Better grab your umbrella, I'll make it rain. I'll make it rain in NorCal.
I don't think you get enough credit for how much precipitation you've personally brought to the area.
Agreed.
So kudos. Again, we record this and then it takes a little bit for this to come out. There's also another storm coming in tonight that's going to last through Thursday. So a lot of people are probably listening this Thursday and it probably came and went, but another 4 feet is expected. Then get ready for this.
Oh, I'm ready.
Starting December 20th. This is according to the 10-day forecast, which obviously we know is an imperfect science, but starting December 20th, it starts to snow in Mount Shasta, in Lassen, in Tahoe, and Mammoth. And it does not stop in the entire 10-day forecast. So we're looking at, we're already above our snowfall for December, for our average snowfall for December. And we literally are looking down the pipe of 2 straight weeks of snow. This is so freaking awesome.
We are very lucky this year. We need to take advantage of it. Go snowboarding if you haven't been in a while. Go out, have a snowball fight. Make a snowman. It's Jack Frost season. You need to, we need to appreciate this while we have it, because this is not something that we should get used to, but we need it so bad.
That's a great point. Some of these ski resorts have struggled recently. Just off the top of my head, Mount Shasta Ski Park has had some really low years in terms of snow, and support them now because they do what they can to stay open when there's barely any snow. Now that they have a ton of snow, we need to flood these places and support them so they have just the support of the locals. I'm really excited. I don't know when I'll be able to get up to the mountain to snowboard. It will be soon. I am a little bummed because early winter is lake skating season. Like, I like to go out to the high elevation lakes and go skating, and I worry that this much snow is going to make it non-existent. Like, it wasn't cold enough up until these storms to skate on the lakes, and now there's going to be too much snow. We won't be able to skate at all this year.
The Mount Shasta rink's open, right?
Yes, but I'm talking about actual lakes. Like, yeah.
Like
Castle Lake. But
go ice fishing
up in the Sierra. I have some friends. We go every year, and we get a little hockey rink going, and we play hockey. I have a feeling that's not going to happen. That being said, I will certainly go ice fishing. I got my auger ready to go.
Let's go.
My wife is always like, what the hell are you doing with an auger that you might use one time a year?
Just
and I'm
moved,
like,
and so she got to see it again. I love it.
That auger is going to be super important this year because I do want to catch one of those big, I don't even know what's in some of those lakes in the Sierra, but I'm hooked on ice fishing. So it's exciting. A lot of great winter activities are coming up. And, hopefully this will deliver us from drought. I think I read somewhere that to get out of this drought, we essentially need 7 big storms. I think we're about 2 or 3 in December. So that's probably a pretty good sign. I'm not saying that we're going to end the drought by any means just by this, but I think we're well on our way to, having a much better fire season next summer, to filling up our lakes, to having a snowpack, which we now know is just so important in this state.
It's the vast majority of what we talk about on this podcast is water-related topics.
Well, blame it on climate change. We go from rags to riches. It's really fun being in riches.
Yeah, feels good.
But it's also really important to talk about the rags. So,
it is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to the news of the week. First story, father and son arrested for starting the Caldor Fire, which this is crazy. I mean, I've been addicted to this story since finding this out. Everyone wants to know the most up-to-date information. What can we find out about what this father-son duo did with the fire? What can you tell us?
Well, so the El Dorado Sheriff's Department is sort of keeping the details close to them. For the case, they just want to make sure they get a good case against these two. But it's a father-son, David Scott Smith and Travis Shane Smith, were arrested for reckless arson, which caused inhabited properties to burn and resulted in great bodily injury to multiple victims. The Caldor Fire burned more than 220,000 acres in the El Dorado National Forest, more than 1,000 structures, famously evacuated the Lake Tahoe Basin for 2 weeks this past summer. But they're not telling us exactly how they started this, right? What's interesting is these men were also charged with some firearm charges.
Silencer, specifically.
Well, there was they were both charged with possessing a silencer for a firearm. And then the son, the young, 32-year-old Travis, was charged with converting a firearm to a machine gun. So I guess my question is and has been, were these firearms at the center of starting the Caldor Fire, or did they simply think these men did it, searched their house, and then found these firearms? Well, what's the story? And the El Dorado Sheriff's Department is not saying anything.
Yeah, and another telling thing in this story was that they were both arrested on Ramey warrants, which is basically allowing law enforcement to arrest somebody prior to charges being filed, which doesn't happen very often. And to me, could potentially signify that they were maybe trying to make a run for it.
Flight risk.
Yeah. So electric story. Like I said, where everyone's kind of trying to figure out what's happening. What can we find out about this? And like you said, they're keeping the information close to the chest because they still have to go through trial and all of those things.
Well, and let me be clear. I am such a big believer in innocent until proven guilty. Absolutely. And I think in society nowadays, we tend to judge people beforehand. So I want to make it very clear. When they had law enforcement come to their house and search their house, they hired this attorney in Sacramento, and he talked to the New York Times. And he said, my clients literally have no idea why they were arrested for this. Apparently, they were in the area when the fire started, and they started warning people, like campers and people in the El Dorado National Forest.
911.
They called 911, and he says, we don't even know what the prosecution thinks, but obviously these are huge charges. There's 7 felonies, associated with all these charges. And so I do want to be clear. I don't know what is going on here. I don't know if the firearms are at the center of it. I don't know what sort of evidence they have. You would think if they would have some significant evidence if they arrested them on Ramey charges, but these are, huge charges that are being filed against them.
Well, and to your point, these gun charges, they could potentially feel reaching. Like maybe they didn't find the evidence that they were looking for.
So they're trying to get them for something else?
Right.
Yeah.
That jumped out to me when I did read the article. I'm like, that's weird. Because like clearly they didn't start the fire with firearms, right? I mean, even if it was a machine gun, it's going to be really hard to start a fire with a gun. So
unless you're shooting something that maybe could spark it. I mean, you never know. Like when it's severe
shooting explosive things.
When it's severe drought, like we experienced, you have to be super careful. You
right.
know?
But
and maybe they just didn't.
That would have been more accidental. Whereas this is kind of being charged as it was very much an act.
Reckless arson.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're right. Innocent until proven guilty. So we need to say that. Honestly, hopefully they didn't do it. It'd be great if they didn't. If there wasn't people that were just so evil that they would not only cause start a fire this massive, but also it caused loss of life in the process. Right?
It didn't. No deaths. 5 injuries. Firefighters have gotten so good at not allowing deaths. I mean, it's inevitable with these dangerous situations, but 5 injuries. But just, the loss of property, the loss of homes, the amount of money that's spent on fighting these fires and rebuilding these areas. And you have, FEMA coming in and having to give all the money to the people whose homes burned. There's a lot that goes into it, in which case it is really good to find someone and charge them with this to teach people to be, responsible when you're out there and to not start a spark. But until we get some more information and maybe some evidence from the El Dorado Sheriff's Department, I'm not going to place blame on these guys yet. You're right. Maybe they were in the area, they were under suspicion, they got searched, and some gun stuff came, and they said, "Okay, well we're gonna get them on this gun stuff," because it's probably really hard to prove this sort of thing, sure. Right? Like arson. It's probably really hard to prove in court. So we're going to be following this closely, but I'm really fascinated to see what the sheriff's case is.
Me too. So stay tuned. We will update you when we get more information. Okay, next story. This was cool. Brand new documentary tells the story of the deadly 1982 avalanche at Alpine Meadows. Now, I had not heard about this avalanche before.
Oh, really?
No, I didn't. Oh. I mean, you do the majority of the research when it comes to that kind of stuff. I stick to food and wine, basically. But reading this article on ActiveNorCal.com, watching the trailer for this documentary, I'm excited. This looks badass.
Yeah, I've been meaning to reach out to the filmmakers to either get an interview or maybe do some sort of preview. They've been previewing this at Art House in Tahoe City. I tried to go. The tickets were sold out. It's obviously, especially in that area of Tahoe City, it's a very popular story. A lot of people that live there locally lived through it. But essentially, this is what happened. At Alpine Meadows, March 31st, 1982, a massive avalanche came down during a storm. No one was on the slopes, if I believe that's the case.
The resort was closed because of avalanche conditions.
Correct. And so there were people in the parking lot. There were people in the lodge. The massive avalanche covered the lodge and the parking lot. It killed
20 feet of snow.
20 feet of snow. Killed 7 people. The most fascinating part about this, and I'm surprised they haven't. I'm sure they've probably made a movie on this. A drama of sorts about this. A woman was stuck there for, I believe, 4 or 5 days. She was stuck in the lodge under the snow. So,
she could walk around.
No, she was laying there. Right. I think she
survived.
Yeah, and actually, I know the story decently, but after this documentary came out and I watched the trailer, I went and bought the book, and I just got it from in the mail. It's called A Wall of White.
Oh.
And it's a 300-page book about this avalanche. I am so stoked to read it. In fact, I'm going to bring back the NorCal Book Club and try to do that. And because it is the 40-year anniversary coming up in March, and I want to get a bunch of people to read it, and we can do a little online community book club thing with it. But this documentary looks great. It's 2 local filmmakers, Jared Drake and Steven Sigg, I believe is his name. They got all the people, most of the people who lived through it to get on camera and discuss it. I think some people are still really traumatized by it, so some people wouldn't come on. But this film has already received a ton of accolades. It got the Audience Choice Award at Telluride's Mountain Film Festival, the Jury Award at the Austin Film Festival, Best Documentary at Bend Film Festival. It's also been chosen for a bunch of other film festivals: Banff, Whistler, Boulder, Lake Placid, and Newport Beach. So this is a professional documentary made by Tahoe locals, Alpine Meadows locals, and it just looks great. I can't wait to see it. I'm really going to try to get some sort of screener so we can, prepare our audience for the wider release of the film. But I'm really excited to see it and learn more about the story.
Yeah, what I think makes good documentaries is obviously good video footage of whatever the documentary is about, whether it be old or new footage, which I know there is a lot of watching this trailer, but also getting the right people to interview for the documentary. And the trailer for this movie opens with the avalanche forecaster. His name is Jim Flynn, I think. And he clearly is still emotional about it. It's been 40 years and this still affects him, just him saying, I was the avalanche forecaster the day that happened, like it chokes him up. So also, and you can just hear if you watch the trailer, which you can find on activenorcal.com, the music associated with it just really brings out emotion and evokes the drama that really this story is all about. So I can't wait to watch this. I believe it's out in theaters, select theaters, if you will, but it comes out officially next year, right? 2022.
Yeah, in the and they haven't really announced the full. I think with these documentaries, with these small production documentaries, they sort of hit the film festivals. And then they draw up some,
They try to get awards, and then that generates marketing.
And then that generates distribution throughout the theaters, right? But, so I think they're aiming to do some sort of 40-year anniversary, March 31st type release. But it's in Alpine Meadows, which is recently bought by Vail, or not Vail, I'm sorry. It was merged with S Valley, now Palisades Tahoe.
There's the S word.
But it is a very avalanche-prone mountain. Like in recent years, they've had a couple deaths from avalanches, just the nature of that resort.
Well, they lay it out as being the most avalanche-prone resort in the Tahoe area, right?
Yeah, that I can't think of one that's more avalanche-prone. I think of, I don't want to say resort without having it off the top of my head, but so fascinating story. And I just imagine, this is a tight-knit community. Imagine this happened. There is, that there's locals that you probably, like, if you're search and rescue, you probably know some of the people that are under there. And, it's almost like you think of when like towers collapse or whatever, and you're searching for people not knowing if you'll find a person alive. And they found a person alive in there for 4 or 5 days. And the fact that she survived is a miracle, but unfortunately 7 other people died. So, fascinating story. I can't believe, I haven't seen it yet because I'm so interested with this, and I'm just really excited to see it.
Looks like a great film.
Yeah.
All right, next story. Investigators reveal what may have happened to the family in the mysterious California hiking death. We've all kind of wondered what could have possibly happened to this family, this mom, dad, child, and dog. Now we got a little update.
Yeah, so we've discussed this. It was this young 30-year-old couple who was hiking with their 1-year-old daughter and their dog, and they were found dead about 1.5 miles away from their car. And let me be clear, we don't have all the answers. We never will have all the answers. But after their autopsy, it was revealed that they died from basically heat exhaustion. They call it whatever, hypothermia, but it's heat exhaustion. All three of the mom, the dad, and the baby. The dog was dead too. And I think that's what is so mysterious about this. Like, how is a dog going to die from that sort of thing?
An animal would have animal instincts,
right,
and maybe try to do something on its own. Yeah, I agree.
But authorities have since, after a months-long investigation, they've sort of revealed some of some more details into the story. Apparently, the woman was found down the trail, right? So the theory is that the baby was starting to show symptoms of heat stroke, and maybe the father, who was 45, the mother's 30, the father was feeling it. So they were out of water, so she runs down to try to get help. And
the dad, the daughter, and the dog stay behind.
Correct.
While the mom goes and seeks help.
Right. And so this is the theory they've now come up with. The baby was experiencing difficulty. They rushed back on this steep trail in 109-degree weather. The dad starts to feel it. They sit down. The mom keeps going to go to get help, and she succumbs eventually. Very sad. An expert witness who is a professional wilderness survival and first aid instructor has been assisting authorities with this, says that, when you start this trail, it's 20 degrees cooler as you head down the steep area. So it gains 20 degrees temperature on this steep trail that's really hard to hike. And that's why people can be caught off guard. And that's why this person said, this expert witness said, I don't even do this during the summer, But for me, that leaves the dog. And I do have a theory with the dog.
I'd love to hear it. So
the theory with the dog from me is they did find toxic algae in the water where the family had hiked to. So... And that led to people thinking that the hikers were in the water and they succumbed to this toxic algae, although the autopsy later disproved that. But maybe the dog drank that water and succumbed to that. They didn't do an autopsy on the dog.
Why? You'd think they'd want to know.
How often do they do autopsies on dogs?
Well, you'd think that this would be prevalent. This is something that it's evidence of how these humans died. I think that
yeah.
I mean, like when a dog is 15 years old and just dies, yeah, they're not going to do an autopsy, but this could show potential signs of what had killed the humans as well.
Maybe they had already disposed of the dog's remains or buried the dog or whatever they did with the dog. And then all these theories, and they didn't necessarily know like how mysterious this death was. But that's my theory, because I have, even though the dog probably was really thirsty too and hot, I have trouble believing that dog succumbed. Dogs are just more equipped
the
for
dog
the wilderness.
Could have been on a leash, and so it couldn't have run away.
Very true. That is very true as well. So. Yes, but I do think at least we have some sort of picture that is painted and a great lesson for any hikers. One, you do have to do research on your hike because like this experienced hiker in the region said, he doesn't do it in the summer because it gets so hot as you go down. 20 degrees difference is huge. And, bring extra water. Always bring extra water. And yeah, just do research on it. But it's sad, and you have to feel for the family who now is imagining these parents who are scared for their child trying to rush back to their car and succumbing to heat stroke.
Terrible story. Everyone take it as a lesson. You can never bring too much water with you on one of those hikes.
That's very true.
Okay.
Okay, wait. So I do have one more.
I know.
Story.
I was saying you have a fish story to tell me, right?
Well, this just came up, and I'm like, hey, give me 2 minutes for this fish story. So this just came up, and we'll write about this on the website, so it'll be up by the time this podcast comes up. But Josh Giordano, who has been on our radar, he's forever. He is this big. He's really good at catching giant fish. In fact, if he doesn't have the state record for trout size of catching trout in the state, I would be shocked. But if he doesn't, he's gotten pretty damn close multiple times. So he is really good at fishing the Thermalito diversion pool on the Feather River. It's right below the Orville Dam. It's kind of hard to get into the area where he fishes, and he's really good at catching these monster fish. We've done multiple stories on him. He caught this fish, I think this was yesterday, that he measured, but he did not weigh, because you have to take it out to weigh it, and it measured in at 41 inches in length and 27 inches in girth. And based on that, they believe it was 38.2 pounds. The state record for rainbow trout is 27 pounds.
Wow.
So he would have beaten that by
11 pounds.
Correct. But he released it.
Right. Dude, are you saying he did something wrong?
I'm saying that's awesome. He was literally looking at a state record, what we believe to be a state record, and he said, I care more about the fish in this river. Bam. Go back to your home.
Now, you see this information. Did he take a picture of the photo?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Here, you want to see it?
I would love to.
Look at that. Look at that bad boy.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
well, I mean, he's on the shore. I mean, how hard would it be to just hook that thing into a weight and just...
So based on my knowledge, it's actually kind of a rough hike to get where he catches these monster fish. And I think it was 2 years ago, he caught one that was 24 and a half feet or 24 and a half pounds. I remember that. And if I'm a little off on that, we wrote about it on the website. And he actually took it in and weighed it, and it wasn't a state record. And so I think to him, that probably was a lesson like, okay, I probably shouldn't be taking out these monster fish if I want to catch more monster fish in the Thermalito afterbay. So, 41 inches. It's almost 4 foot.
That's
rainbow
insane.
Trout. That is, I mean, it looks like one of those giant king salmon that we caught.
Yeah.
It's a rainbow trout.
Right. Which are way harder to catch than salmon. Did he catch on a fly?
No. Bait fishing.
I haven't heard a lot of trout bait fishing.
10-foot, 6-inch Akuma rod with a Fluger President spinning reel, spooled with Power Pro braid, blah, blah, blah.
You're literally speaking another language.
Yeah. Just reading what he used. But, he chose not to try to get it certified as a state record.
Let it go. Hopefully that fish can procreate and produce more monster trout.
Took him 15 minutes to land.
That actually sounds very short. 15 minutes? I mean, people fight with fish.
No,
hours.
No, I read that wrong. 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's more reasonable, but you got to exhaust a fish of that size out before it'll kind of let you breathe.
No. Sorry. I'm reading this
real time, people.
I'm reading this in real time. An hour and 10 minutes he fought this fish.
How did we go from 15 to 45
to
an hour?
It says the fish fought so hard that he didn't really get a steady pull on it until 15 minutes in. Then he would, after 45 minutes, he was eventually able to pull some line in. That's how freaking strong this fish is. Then he actually got his hands on it at an hour and 10 minutes. It ran 100 yards. It ran 100 yards away from him. So he reeled in this massive fish for an hour and 10 minutes over 100 yards.
Good for him.
This is crazy.
And he let it go.
And he let it go. Here's his quote. I'm not after the records. I'm not after records in a book. I do it for pure passion I have for catching these magnificent fish. I do always look for a record for my personal best as it challenges me to become a better angler. Yes, I love this guy. We're going to have to get him on the podcast. I've exchanged some messages with him in the past, Josh Giordano. So we're going to have to get him on the podcast to discuss this because this is just insane. And for anyone, this will be up on our website here shortly. So
congratulations on the massive trout.
Okay. News of the week over, done. That was fun. Okay. Let's go to our interview with Matt Levitt. Sorry. He is the founder and CEO of Tahoe Blue Vodka, a super cool guy, a really cool story, and quite frankly, an inspiration. Let's go to Matt.
All right. We'd now like to welcome onto the show a very special guest. He is the founder and CEO of Tahoe Blue Vodka. Welcome onto the show, Matt Levitt. Did I say that right, Levitt?
That's correct. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, you're in Tahoe right now, and what looks to be one of the great storms we've had in the last couple of years. What's it like in Tahoe right now?
It is. It's a snowy mess out there. There's trees down all over the place, and cars high centered in the road, and like the whole city is trying to get the snow moved. And it's a good storm. We needed it. Yes, we needed it badly. And I'm jealous of you because I would love to be there right now. I'm so glad you're on today because I'm fascinated by, your company, and it's this weird, fun success story we're having here in Northern California with, craft spirits. And I don't know much about you or your company. So let's start from the beginning. What is your story and what led you to starting a Tahoe inspired vodka? Well, I was born and raised in Maryland, went to undergrad business school there, and shortly after I graduated in 2001, I decided to embark on this road trip to see the American West. I had heard so much about the Grand Canyon and the Hollywood, and it all sounded so exotic, glamorous when you spent your entire childhood in the suburbs of DC. And we didn't have much along the way of nature or wildlife, and so I went on this road trip, which was intended to be out and back to Maryland, and I stumbled into Tahoe about 3 months into that road trip in 2001 and fell in love with the clean air and clear water and outdoor lifestyle, and I decided to stay. I decided to stay what I thought was going to be for a little bit. And that was 21 years ago. So this place, it gets into your blood, and it kind of changes your priorities, changes your perspective on life. And, I've been an entrepreneur at heart ever since I was a kid. I remember tinkering with inventions and, product ideas, even as, with my toys, modifying my toys and trying to sell them to my buddies in elementary school, that sort of thing. I didn't know what that meant as a kid, that, it's kind of a set of traits that leads you to always be kind of exploring and inventing. And it's that has not changed for me. But I got to Tahoe. I got involved in another business and did that for 8 or 10 years, not in the spirits field, liquor or alcohol field at all. But I basically dreamt Tahoe Blue up. In the interim, backing up a little bit, I went back to school, got my MBA in management and marketing. And it's funny how in life, sometimes it seems like everything lines up to where you are right now, right? In hindsight. And this was one of those deals. I was sitting out on the beach, enjoying some cocktails with some other vodka on the shore of Lake Tahoe on the beach. And I was pouring myself a vodka drink, and I was holding the glass in one hand and the bottle in the other hand. And I was looking at the bottle and out at the lake, and the light bulb came on, and it was, if I can bottle that, all of that, and, not the water, but the lifestyle, the sunsets and sailboats and powder skiing and golfing and
and hanging with friends and all of that, if I could wrap all of that up into a vodka product, that it seemed to me it should be a pretty easy choice. First for, Western US states, California, Nevada, certainly, but really the idea of Tahoe and vacation in a bottle, relax, escape, recharge, I thought would be a universal message. And so I decided to do some research, learn everything I could about the spirits industry, dove right into kind of building out a business plan. I learned early on that I did not want to do the distilling myself for a couple of reasons. Number one, I didn't like the economics of it, but just as importantly, or more importantly, I don't know how to make vodka, and I wanted it to taste good, and I wanted it to taste good right away. And so I went about designing a bottle, and then in effect, sort of interviewing would-be distillers for the position of being a contract distiller, kind of co-packer arrangement. And I went into a series of these meetings with a prototype bottle of Tahoe Blue, and I said, "Look, this is Tahoe Blue Vodka. It's a product I'm launching, and it's going to be a big deal here in California and Nevada, and armed with loads of ignorant enthusiasm, which is a very dangerous combination." And so I go into these meetings and I say, you should want to distill this. You should want to make this because it's going to be a smashing success. And 3, 4, 5 meetings into that process, I sat down with some guys in Mountain View, California, South Bay, and they're Tahoe guys, and they got it. And we clicked, and it felt like it had the potential to be a great working relationship. And so we started tinkering with ideas to make a vodka that's incredibly clear, pure, and smooth, like Lake Tahoe, to help kind of capture that Tahoe vibe, and had decided on this business name and kind of the first rendition, the packaging. And the idea was floated to blend a vodka, and that's a very unusual approach to making vodka. Just about all American vodkas are made from some sort of wheat, grain, rye, corn. But all grain vodkas have this inherent bite or aftertaste that reminds a lot of people vaguely of rubbing alcohol. Sound familiar?
Right.
So,
Oh yeah.
so we look to bourbons and scotches and more table wines who are taking this blending approach. And the idea of the blending is to highlight certain characteristics of some of those ingredients that you like while masking less desirable characteristics. In the wine world, for example, I love Merlot, but it's real dry. So you add a Shiraz, and then you have a blended red table wine, which you see all over the stores now, that tastes mostly like Merlot, but it's not as dry. So we took the same approach. We decided to blend a vodka from a variety of base ingredients, carefully chosen for a very specific flavor profile, of grapes, corn, and sugarcane, which are distilled separately and blended together and distilled through a copper pot still in small batches, to kind of mesh the flavors together. Got the first batch done in 2012. I could not get any interest from any of the big distributors. And as I'm sure you know, most liquor, most alcohol of all sorts flows through a distributor to the stores. And those distributors did not have interest in Tahoe Blue because it was a brand that was unheard of. Had no volume and really nothing to offer. And it was basically kind of a home business running out of my home office at the point. So I decided to get my own distributor's license and sell it myself.
Oh, wow.
Out of the trunk of my car. So picture this, old beat up Subaru, eventually replaced with a Toyota RAV4, but started with the Subaru. I've got a laptop and a printer on the passenger seat hooked up to a power converter in the car, hooked up to the cigarette lighter. And then the trunk is full of vodka. So I can go make a sales call, present the product, open the account, and then run the invoice all in one stop. So it's like a one-man band. Felt like I had a friend to compare it to a paper route, which is delivering newspapers. It's kind of what it felt like. I would go store to store, and then I had these other jobs, some consulting stuff I was doing to pay the bills in the meantime. And it was kind of totally nuts in hindsight to think that it would work. and really challenging at the beginning when it didn't work at first because nobody had heard of it. And, you can't order a vodka you've never heard of at a bar or restaurant, but it took an enormous amount of enthusiasm in optimism and resilience. And, at the beginning, the first year or two, when, 90% of all the sales calls I made, the answer was no. And I sold about 400 cases that first year out of the trunk of my car, which isn't terrible. But what I realized eventually is that the brand really needed some marketing and advertising budget. So I started investing first in South Tahoe and newspaper, TV, radio on a very small scale, and then got some footing, some traction there, and it all started to make sense. The light bulb came on. It's like, okay, this works. The Tahoe Blue's got all sorts of interesting attributes, features and attributes that make it desirable to the consumer, but we have to educate the consumer on that. So kind of put together an advertising campaign first in Tahoe and then scaled that up, took the brand to Reno in 2014, 2016, did the same thing into Sacramento and then the San Francisco Bay Area just over the last couple of years. And we went from 400 cases that first year to more than 50,000 this year in 7 years or so. So the brand's come a long way. We're proud partners of the 49ers and the Kings and featured on the Travel Channel. It's one of the biggest craft brands in the US and one of the biggest vodka brands, top 10 vodka brand in California and Nevada. It's also the fastest growing in both states. We've won probably 35 spirits tasting competitions. With kind of like the wine tasting thing where you have a panel of experts, whatever it is that makes you an expert in tasting hard liquor. Panel of experts blind taste the products, and Tahoe Blue has come home time and time again with double gold, best in class, first place. And so when I tell you it tastes better because it's blended, know that it's not just me saying that, but the experts also agree it tastes better because it's blended. The company's come a long way, and we're now looking at an expansion into some adjacent states here over the next year or two, and super excited with the way things are going.
It's been interesting to watch your growth, because I probably saw Tahoe Blue, 4 years ago or so on the shelf, and you see it that first time, and you kind of you don't pay too much attention to it, right? And then you keep seeing it more and more and more. So much so that I was actually in Las Vegas a couple months ago, and you guys had a huge billboard, and I said, "Oh, that's the Northern California brand right there." So it's been so interesting to watch your growth over this short period of time. But I love what you talk about with how you didn't necessarily set out to become a vodka entrepreneur. You had the inspiration from Tahoe, and if you were to go down into the lake with goggles, it's so clear, it kind of looks like vodka, right? But at the same time, you're selling this lifestyle, whether that's a vacation lifestyle, a summer outdoor lifestyle, a winter lifestyle. So that's just really cool that you sort of took this concept and made it into a product that is feasible for the public. What about Tahoe to you sort of drew you there initially? Did you become this outdoor enthusiast, or do you like the views? What was it specifically about Tahoe that really inspired you to create this brand?
Coming out of an area that was mostly concrete and asphalt, it was the open spaces and this beautiful blue sky that we've got here 300 days a year. And the lifestyle and this emphasis on being outdoors and doing all of the things that people come here to do. But when you live here, you get to do it, every day. And also the fact that, and that lifestyle I embraced wholeheartedly. Quickly got into the wakeboarding and wake surfing, and taught myself to snowboard and mountain biking and running and camping and hiking and all of those things. But the idea of living somewhere that's so beautiful, almost national park beautiful, or equally national park beautiful, but you can live here, and there's not many places in the world where you can, back up, a block or two away from the beach and go for a swim and enjoy all these things. And, part of the branding initially in being Tahoe Blue Vodka instead of, for example, Lake Tahoe Vodka was about this philanthropic movement and awareness to help preserve the environment and preserve the lake. And so I wanted that to be, as the lake was my inspiration for moving here and deciding to stay here and raise my kids here, and my love for the outdoors and for nature, I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could start donating right away? Unlike you see a lot of businesses that get to some billions of dollars and then start like a philanthropic arm. I said, day one, I'm going to donate a portion of proceeds to help preserve the environment here. And those donations, as you can imagine, when I did 400 cases, were very small, but they were donations nonetheless. And I did start right away. But over time, our ability to donate and make an impact has gotten bigger as the brand has expanded. So think of it like the more Tahoe Blue you drink, the more we donate, right?
Right.
So over the last 7 years, we've donated about $250,000.
And your most recent one was Clean Up the Lake.
Clean Up the Lake, which was a $100,000 donation. We served as like an anchor donor there, as we have on a couple other projects, where they publicize our large donation in a matching campaign to the public, and they go out to the consuming public and say, "Hey, Tahoe Blue is donating dollar for dollar to $100,000." There's this enormous response, big flood of capital came in, and Clean Up the Lake, the nonprofit that we're supporting through the Tahoe Fund, hit their budget of $250,000 for this project really quickly, less than 2 weeks. And as a result, a project that started in May, kicked off in May, we've dove a team of scuba divers circumnavigating the lake about a half mile to a mile a day. We've dove more than 50 miles of Lake Tahoe shoreline, concentrating on areas that are most impacted by human presence and partying. And we've removed something like 25,000 pounds of trash out of Lake Tahoe. And that is just, it feels really good to see it happen. I volunteer on the dive team also, so I'm out there myself sometimes, and it looks so pristine from the beach. And then you put as you just mentioned, you put your goggles on, you go down there and realize, people have been using the lake like a trash can for 50 years, yep. Which is, obviously sad, kind of heartbreaking to see. The good news is that there's a lot less new trash than old trash. And you can tell by looking at it, you can tell the difference between a beer can from the 80s and a beer can from now. And by the way, there's a lot of beer cans and glass bottles and, plastic bottles and tires,
cigarette butts,
tires, cigarette. Just all, it's like people have been, at least in the, at some point, 70s, 80s, 90s, maybe people were kind of hanging out on the shore, partying and just throwing the trash in the lake. And we've undone 50 years of human impact in 5 months, or at least a lot of it. We can't get it all. Some of the items are too heavy to lift. We're putting plans together to go back for some of that stuff next summer, but it feels really good that the brand's gotten big enough. It feels even like more of an accomplishment than the actual success of Tahoe Blue is the success of our cleanup efforts. We've also heavily sponsored a wildlife education center in South Lake Tahoe and replaced a boardwalk where a lot of schools go to watch the salmon spawn. And so it feels really good to make a difference. It's probably the most exciting part of being in business, next to having a brand that's just growing phenomenally.
Yeah, that's how I connected with you. Is we just recently had Colin West on our podcast, who is the founder, and he runs Clean Up the Lake, and he's deeply entrenched in taking garbage out of Lake Tahoe every single day. How did that partnership come to be? Did you guys meet and sort of have this idea? Did he approach you? Did you approach him?
We met through a mutual friend about 2 years ago on and I have to be totally honest, I'm not sure whose idea the first one was. Somebody in this group of guys that Colin was with to put together a team of divers and go dive one spot where you could actually see the trash from a boat, and that's called Bonsai Rock. Are you familiar with that?
Very familiar.
Yeah, like one of the most iconic photographs spots in Tahoe. Well, people anchor up there, and then they party, and then they throw the trash overboard. And so, some of it falls off, obviously, accidentally. So we did this kind of exploratory first dive, and I was there, and it was incredibly eye-opening to see just how much trash there was there and somebody had to do something. We pulled, I think 1,100 pounds up in one day, which felt great, but we got back to shore and realized it was just the start. And then, you start to guess like, well, maybe the areas around, more crowded beaches, Sand Harbor or Zephyr Cove are going to have more trash, but it's really the entirety of the shoreline. So the idea was floated, and we spent about a year planning it, and here we are, a little behind schedule this year. No thanks to the Caldor Fire and some other delays we've had. Likely we'll finish this winter sometime, assuming the storms don't crank up and stay in place for a couple months, in which case it'll be spring. But when we finish, we finish. It's not about the timing. It's about having made the whole loop, and the less solid matter that there is in the lake breaking down, degrading over time, the longer the lake stays clear, and actually we'll start to add back to improving the lake's clarity. It peaked 50 years ago, 120-foot visibility, got down as low as about 60-foot visibility, and it's improving again over the last 5 or 10 years, and that's due in part to the efforts like this one. So
yeah, I'd like to ask. I asked Colin the same question. So obviously, it's so important to take that trash out of Tahoe, but I think maybe equally important is the messaging behind not allowing any more trash come into it. So, in your opinion, is it more important to actually physically take the trash out, or to make sure the public knows how this lifestyle of littering and everything is impacting the lake?
I think it's all of that. I think it has to be the full package, because we, a team of 20 volunteers can't keep up with the 15 million tourists that come to Tahoe every year. What I'm loving about this, the media coverage, and there's been a good bit, is that I hope people that are watching at home right now stop and think about what they do with their trash. I think the mentality of, pack out what you pack in and leave no trace, and those sorts of things are kind of more modern thinking. I think they've really gotten legs over the last 20 years. Just the idea of eco-awareness and eco-responsibility. And I hope this podcast is a reminder. I hope that when they see our crews on the beach hauling trash out of the lake, that they think they want to be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. And if they're at the beach for the day with their families and kids and friends, and they see trash in the sand, stop and pick it up. We can all make a difference.
And in Tahoe, especially, it's a tourist town. So right. People come, and they mistreat the area, and then they leave, and it leaves the locals to deal with it.
Right. So hopefully this helps raise awareness.
Yes. Well, I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Obviously, not to take away from anything you're doing right now, do you have any future plans on top of this in terms of are there any other projects you would like to take on as far as a philanthropic endeavor?
We look at, we've made enough noise with our donations that we look at a lot of projects. What we're looking for mostly are, immediate results, brick and mortar construction of things to improve the long-term sustainability, tourism sustainability. Really, the next project on our radar right now is likely an extension of this one, which is to go back in 2022 and hit some of the heavy lift and hotspot areas. And I'm not sure, I'm going to have to huddle up with Colin on how exactly to approach that. But some of the, there's no shortage of litter items in there that are too heavy for a person or even a few people to lift. So we're focusing on lake cleanup still. I think we're another year of that, and then I guess we'll see what comes up.
Yeah, I love what you guys are doing. It's I mean, if you don't pull the trash out eventually, it's going to be Tahoe Blue or Tahoe whiskey. If it turns a bad color, So, well, I'll leave you with this because I actually, on top of everything you guys do, which I think is incredible with the lake, you actually have a very good product. And over quarantine, I got to try it out a couple times. It is the holiday season. Do you have a holiday cocktail, your go-to holiday cocktail with Tahoe Blue?
Absolutely. My favorite use for Tahoe Blue this time of year is if you go to the grocery store and get some cinnamon sticks, drop 3, 4, 5 cinnamon sticks in a bottle of Tahoe Blue for about 3 days until it starts to turn brown. You have home infused cinnamon flavored Tahoe Blue, which is phenomenal with tea, coffee, hot chocolate, apple cider, chai, just about any hot beverage, and very kind of wintry holiday themed. And so I really love that in a good chai.
That's like in a mason jar. You just throw some cinnamon in a mason jar type of thing.
Yeah, or you could. I mean, if you've got a party coming up, I'll just drop it in the bottle. I'll just drop the cinnamon straight down into the neck of the bottle. But you could do it in a mason jar too. That works. Yeah, if you only want to do a portion of the bottle. What
about overall? Forget holiday season. What's your favorite cocktail for Tahoe Blue?
It's funny. I get that question from bartenders a lot, and they're always disappointed. But I like my Tahoe Blue with soda and a slice of orange.
Wow.
I mean,
interesting.
It's a Tahoe Blue and soda, and I sub the lime out for an orange. And it's very simple. And, Tahoe Blue, it tastes better. And so I like to be able to taste it. And when you make a cocktail with a bunch of ingredients, heavy on the sweeteners or flavoring agents, and you can't really taste it. So that's why I enjoy it with club soda.
Well, I'm gonna try out your cinnamon drink this holiday season. Again, I do appreciate what you guys are doing, and I love how you've created this brand that brings awareness to Tahoe, and that sort of it brings to life the Tahoe lifestyle into one brand. So I appreciate all you guys are doing, and I look forward to drinking a little bit this holiday season.
Enjoy, and happy holidays. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Happy holidays, Matt. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Take care.
All right.
All right. Thank you to Matt for coming on and talking with us. Inspirational dude. I just love how he sort of, he wasn't like, oh, I really want to start a vodka company. He saw Tahoe and it inspired him to create this sort of lifestyle spirits company. Really cool story.
I liked that his signature cocktail, his favorite cocktail with the vodka was just vodka soda with an orange slice. What would be your go-to vodka drink with this Tahoe Blue Vodka?
Ooh, I don't know.
I'll start. I'd say a vodka martini extra dirty 3
there you go.
4 olives. You can't take mine.
No. I'm saying that's a good one.
Of course it is.
I don't know. I maybe a Moscow Mule.
Sure.
That kind of takes away from the taste of the vodka. That's kind of.
What about a Bloody Mary? You love a good bloody.
Yeah, but that again also takes it. I'm trying to think of what vodka drinks I like. Maybe a Greyhound.
Okay. Well, just a vodka tonic.
Yeah, I guess.
I like a good vodka tonic.
Honestly, you're probably right with the martini. I do love a good dirty martini. Yeah. But that is, I legit, I found out about some of the philanthropic stuff they were doing. I thought it was really cool. So I went out and bought a bottle and tried it. It's really good.
It's good vodka. Didn't a couple of years ago they do like a recipe contest online? I think I saw that.
They did.
somewhere.
I was trying to get you to do it.
You
Yeah,
did. That's right.
Yeah.
And I had some citrus juice from a really weird kind of exotic citrus, but that I have since used elsewhere. But that's what I was going to do. It was going to be kind of like a Greyhound in style a little bit. But yeah, great interview. Go out and support. Buy yourself a bottle of Tahoe Vodka Blue and
support the
Blue
people
Vodka.
who are cleaning up the lake. Buy Tahoe Blue Vodka. I love what they're doing. All right, so this is our last podcast for the holidays. So I just wanted to do a quick something to remind people to shop local. So we, our friends over at Discover Siskiyou gave us a few local Siskiyou County businesses that you can support by buying local this holiday season. First, Shasta Mountain Soap Company. If you want like some fun, great soaps, they have bath bombs, they have candles, they have all sorts of these different local soaps right from Mount Shasta. Go to shastamountainsoapcompany.com. That's a really good, if you have like your mom or maybe your wife or something, I think they like that stuff. Bath bombs,
put it in a basket. They'll love it.
Yeah. Another one, shop local that you can buy online, our friends at Denny Bar. Denny Bar Company, they have some great, talking about spirits, they have some great whiskey, some bourbon. We bought some over quarantine because we had them on the podcast. Mm-hmm. And they have some really good stuff. DennyBarCompany.com. You can buy anything they have in their shop that is out of Etna, California.
Got to get to their distillery at some point.
No, I'm planning on it soon. If you're looking for a little meat action, Five Marys Meats, I believe that's also out of Etna. They have all sorts of fun cooking stuff that you can buy online. That's FiveMaryMeats.com. Also coffee, any coffee lovers in your life. We love coffee. Buy some local Northern California coffee. Go to northboundcoffee.com. Northbound Coffee. They have really good organic coffees shipped right to your door. Northboundcoffee.com. Finally, Etna Brewing Company. We love Etna Brewing Company. They sell all their beers online. They have really freaking good beers. I love their beer. EtnaBrewing.com. Go buy they have that raspberry. I'm looking on it. That raspberry beer, which doesn't sound like something I would like. It's so good. I can't see it on here. The Helly Hazy IPA. That looks really good. We've had all these. I just forget. Like we've had so many beers in our time doing this. But EtnaBrewing.com. Shop local this holiday season. That brings me to you, Bob. What do you want this holiday season?
Well, this story reminded me of a time that we were going to try to do a video for Discover Siskiyou, and you wanted to snowshoe up to Heart Lake, which, if any of you have ever done that hike before, know it is a challenging hike on a normal, non-snowy day. So my brother decided, let's snowshoe up to Heart Lake. Well, we made it maybe 15 yards up the trail before.
Okay, you're exaggerating.
Before he realized, this was a bit of a reach. So he turned around and we went and spent the day in Mount Shasta, which had just snowed. And if you've ever been in Mount Shasta during the holiday season, they decorate all around town. Most towns do, but it's great. It had just snowed. So we went around and filmed ourselves kind of spending the day around Mount Shasta. Now, if you were to say what is on my Christmas list that would be pertinent to this, I would love to spend the night at snowy... What's that train place called?
Oh, Railroad Park Resort.
Railroad Park Resort. Couple reasons why. First of all, snow on the ground. Haven't seen it there with snow on the ground. That would be really, really awesome.
Yep.
Also, when it snows in the area, I don't have four-wheel drive, so I can't really go very many places, but you got everything you need right there. A magnificent bar with restaurant. The food was totally awesome there, and you get to stay in a caboose. I mean, what's wrong with that? And if it's not heavily snowing and you can get out, maybe go grab a sticky bun at Yak's.
Yeah. No, it's Scott's Tots at Yak's.
Yeah, but remember how they brought out the sticky bun?
No, I know. I just
right.
love Scott's Tots.
You just got like the name. Yeah. Shout out The Office.
And to your point, Castle Craig's is probably one of the most underrated places to have snow on it. Castle Craig's
and you
with
can
snow
see
on
it from the parking lot.
You can see it from the parking lot of Railroad Park Resort. Dunsmuir, by the way, with this recent storm, their whole entire downtown was completely covered in snow. I love that place covered in snow. The fishing is great on the Sacramento River in the cold, in the snowy cold. In that town, it's just got this, I can't even describe this like this glorious 50s vibe covered in snow. It almost feels like you're in the, what's one of those old Christmas movies? I know you love those. It's a Wonderful Life or something. It's kind of got one of those vibes. So
no, you're right. It actually, there's jokes on the internet all that, every Lifetime holiday movie is a successful businesswoman goes back to her small hometown and visits, and meets this guy who is like a firefighter and also a bartender or whatever. Dunsmuir reminds me of that place that those stories take place.
Yeah,
especially in the snow.
I agree. All right. Well, for me, I mean, I have so many winter wishes, or holiday wishes, but if I want you, Bob, to buy me something for Christmas, I'm not saying you have to. Just get me a 4-day golf trip next summer at Shasta Mountain Resort.
Oh, I'm there.
Yeah, that great golf course. I was actually talking with my friend about it last night. How if you've ever golfed there, you've never golfed there, right?
The one in Mount Shasta?
Yeah.
I have, actually. I did it
really?
with Alex Gino, 15 years ago.
Yeah, so it is. The ball literally goes 10% further because it's at elevation. Beautiful golf course with the mountain sort of just hovering around you the entire time on a clear day. You obviously can't golf there in the winter because it's covered in snow, but I just love that golf course. They have a great resort, a place that I can take my wife, and they have like a spa, and they have all sorts of cool stuff. It's right next to Lake Siskiyou.
So you want to do 5 days? Isn't there just one 18-hole course there?
Yeah, I could play it 5 times. Yeah. Well, there's the spa, there's the lake. You could take a day and go fishing. Make it 3, okay? Make it 3 days in the summer. Shasta Mountain Resort, I love that place. Yes, so those are our Siskiyou Christmas wishes brought to you by our friends at Discover Siskiyou. And that does it. That is...
Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you, to the audience, to everyone out there.
My wife and I are going to attempt to go to Park City, Utah for the holidays, which means we have to drive through that wicked storm that I just talked about because flights were super expensive, and I kind of wanted the challenge of driving through. So hopefully the pass doesn't close. If it does, we'll be staying in NorCal for Christmas.
And having Christmas with Bob.
And having Christmas with you. So, yes, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everyone. We will be back after the Christmas season, that week before New Year's, that weird week that no one knows what to do with their lives.
We'll be recording a podcast.
We'll be podcasting. So, thank you for listening to the Talking NorCal podcast. Remember to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, iHeartRadio, all those. You can also check us out on activenorcal.com. Follow our YouTube page. You can watch all of these on video. You can see our interview with Matt as he is talking to us. I like podcasts on video. I've sort of made that switch. It's like a talk show. So that's why we do it. That's why we record it on video, because I think that's fun to consume that sort of content. So follow us wherever you want. We're everywhere. We appreciate you listening. And remember, stay active.
NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and I could spend all day just chilling in the South Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and Darren knows how to do to kick it down in Santa Cruz. Or NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we get a little cray-cray when we visit the East Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we get a little mental when we visit Sacramento. Yeah, we're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we protect nature's bounty when we visit Humboldt County. Yeah, we're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and me, I'm hella cool, 'cause I live in Sebastopol. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and you know that we gotta go